Good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of Firewood Doctor. Today I'm going to be working on the oak behind me. Yep, back to that. I got to get, a lot of this is going to be ready to burn, so I can put it in the racks right away, especially the smaller stuff. So I got to get cutting on that. The stringer is right there. So that I gotta get that. I want to get cleared to the end of the first stringer today. Well, relatively speaking, with rolling down the logs, it's gonna take most of the day to do that because oak is heavy, and I'm gonna be rolling down a lot of these logs. I gotta watch it when I get to that, because then once that piece comes out, these are gonna roll down. So. Maybe I'll just climb up on the pile and just start cutting up on there the way it is, because those logs are locked in because that's the key, and that one's also locking it in. So maybe I'll go up here, cut this off first, chuck those out of the way, then come down here. But the main reason I might get these done first. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do this yet. These few odds and ends have to get finished, cut all the way through. I want to clear to the stringers so I can clean this mess up later today, or that's going to be tomorrow's project. So now to sharpen up the saw and get cutting. Yes, I know I should have had the saw sharpened already, but at the end of the day, when I get done cutting, I'm just a little tired, or I work restocking lately now until the mosquitoes start biting. So I'm not going to be out here or on the tailgate of my truck or on the bench at home sharpening when the mosquitoes are biting. So I could do that during the day, during the break. So yeah, I should sharpen that when I'm taking a break. There we go, that solves that problem. So now, get the saw sharpened and get cutting. I still got the hypa chain on here, and after 2 tanks after my touch-up, it was still sharp enough to cut basswood, but not necessarily oak. So I gave it a good sharpening. It catches the skin on the finger. You want it that sharp where it, you can't just slide your finger off the corner of the tooth. You want it to catch a little bit. I could get it. I've gotten changed sharper, but this should be, we'll see how long this edge lasts, and that'll tell how good this hypa chain is. It seems to cut a little slower. That's because of the anti-kickback feature, but because of less kickback, you equal the same productivity, because this is round file chisel chain. So round file chisel speeds it up about 10% over regular semi chisel. So I figured anti-kickback brings it down to that same level. I've used a round file chisel chain before, but without anti-kickback, and it has noticeably more zip. So we'll see how good the edge holds up today. As long as I don't hit any dirt, we'll get an accurate test of that. So now I was going to fire up the saw, but I remembered it's out of gas and I didn't gas it up yet. So I wouldn't have been able to get very far today on gas because I was out. Well, I maybe had a tank or so, tank and a half left in there. That would have been enough for this morning, but yeah, I found out that I checked at the local Amoco station, and have 91 octane no ethanol fuel, a separate hose and pump all by itself, but no recreational fuel, which stinks because this is off-road fuel use, but we don't have enough need for recreational fuel around here, even though it seems like half the people in the country use chainsaws and boats. That's full enough. Don't want to do my history of overflow, repeat history of overflowing it again, filling it. All right. I'm gonna make sure I got my tools packed up so I can just go. Keep the scrunch out. Keep that handy. Got gloves. I got chaps. Let's see how much it takes to start this saw, because I haven't run it for a while. Almost caught it. Yeah, the hyper chain cuts pretty good in this stuff. I have the rakers pretty aggressive because it's really pulling me into the wood. I could feel it. So some people, they really want it to pull. But that's a bad idea, especially if you have a lower powered saw. It's a little harder on the, I guess, the bearings and stuff. So, but for this saw, my comfort level, the rakers are just right. So I won't have to touch it for another sharpening or two. Boy, I forgot how much fun that saw is to run. That thing cuts. I'm going to have to bring the splitter over here to split this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to stack it up best I can while chucking it, not spending a fortune and physical energy to do it. And normally you might want to chuck it a little further, but it's oak, it's heavy. I don't feel like chucking it any further. Besides, there's no need to. So I'm going to split it right away. Now let's see how this goes. And a warm start. The reason why I'm just rotating them, I'm parking them right there. One, they're heavy. Two, why stack them up when they're that heavy? I'll save the stacking for the smaller stuff. And you notice that one where I went under and came up and cut this side of the finishing cut first, bring the saw up this way, big old hunk of dirt. If I would have ran the saw through that, would have finished this log and that would have been it. I would have had to resharpen the chain. All right. Oh, I got a couple more pieces here. The next big log is kind of on the stringer, and on top of logs underneath it, it's laying a little crooked, so now to speed things up. Was one tank of fuel. And I got this row here, this row, this row. This chunk here give you an idea of, it's roughly because it's on a little higher ground than what I'm standing on, it'd be basically right to the bottom of my armpit, so that's nearly 5 foot tall, 4.5 maybe. Yeah, it ran out of fuel right on this cut here. Almost made it all the way through and it burped. And when I was moving around, that log shifted. And I ran for my life. I don't know if you caught the log shift. Yeah, I got a wall going here, as Chris in the Woodyard talks about. So you can really see that wall. Look at that. That is the only thing keeping it from rolling, is that log right there, because it's at an angle and it's pinched in down there. So get these smaller logs rolled down off of there, buck them up. Well, I can move that big one and I can get in a little closer. So get that one, refuel the saw. As far as sharpness goes, a few teeth are slightly dull, but most of them feel almost as pointy sharp as when I sharpened it. The angle on this tooth is a little off. I'm gonna have to watch my angles. The angle of this tooth is off a little. But yeah, this saw was pulling me into the wood just pretty aggressively. So after it dulled just a little bit, it wasn't pulling as hard. So now to roll some logs here and make it safer so I can finish run another saw. Yeah, run another saw through the gas. That would be a bad idea. Run another tank of fuel through the saw. So, yeah, I don't like walls like this. Yeah, that's a death trap. Definitely a broken leg or a broken neck from knocking me over. So, now to get that rolled down. I'm gonna roll it from this side because this log that's locking all these other in is sticking way out. That did not go as expected. Well, cam hooks don't want to work that way. That's why you roll it and stand out of the way. Makes it a little cramped quarters in here, but I got room to work with yet. When the log moves without much effort, that's bad. And that one's locked in there pretty good. little more working room here. There, got some extra working room. My hooker in is naturally way over here. Oh. Yeah, so far that hyper chain is cutting good on the second tank. I doubt it if it's good enough for a third. Usually dry wood is pretty abrasive. If it holds up in dry wood for 3 tanks, you did a hell of a job sharpening. And it didn't hit anything. All right. Right now I got enough rounds to where it'll probably take me all day to split with a farm store splitter. Can't wait till the new one comes. Does it get this done? Oh, if I had a helper in 2 hours, no problem. 2 hours. Now stacking it would take a bit longer. Getting there. For on another tank, I could expose the stringers for sure. Then I can make more room again. I'm running out, as you can see. So it's either I really pile the rounds high or I split. Can't believe how much wood I have from 2 tanks and I'm not even done with this one. The Pearl saws really do pile up the wood in a hurry. Gotta see how much I got left. I know it ain't much. Well, still quite a bit. I'm telling you, this is not easy work now that the sun has gotten out here and it's like nearly 80 degrees. Whew. Sometimes you gotta do that. Cut a few pieces, stop the saw, and then move them. Oh, this one I didn't do too good on. Cut it halfway through that one. So that one's gonna split goofy. That's it. 2 tanks of gas, 1 sharpening on the Hypa full chisel round file saw chain. It's a hell of a chain. For what it is, it's a hell of a chain. I'm glad I got the chain. It's holding up just fine for me. Probably touch it up and go again now. Get these rounds piled up and then show you what we got here. Ugh. And I don't know how well you could see me. I got the sun to my back. As you can see, that pile of rounds at its peak, like that one piece right there, that's 5 foot on top of all the chips. This is 2 tanks of gas. This is more wood than my dad would burn in a year. And I'm pretty happy with this. But as you can hear, I'm out of breath. It's more the heat. Kind of like panting like a dog. Yeah, it took us taking longer breaks. It's time to quit, let the heat simmer down, come back later today. I got some errands to do, but I can't say enough good about the Hypa round file full chisel saw chain. It's doing a job. I'm gonna use it up and get more. You know, the price is right. I'm gonna get more of it. So that's it, folks, for this episode of Firewood Doctor. Unless I go cut some more this evening. So until next time, folks, take care, get out there, do something, have fun doing it.